On the day the heir of Marquis Wan came to my house to deliver the betrothal gifts, his cousin was wearing a bright red wedding dress back at the Marquise's manor, threatening to hang herself. The rescued cousin sobbed, "Ying, ying, ying. I just want to be with cousin. A lifetime for just the two of us." The heir was heartbroken. He abandoned the betrothal gifts and returned to the manor to save his sweetheart. With tears in my eyes, I threw myself into my dad's arms. "Daddy, get justice for me." My dad gave a big wave of his hand. "Is my daughter worried about getting married?" And grabbed the Marquise's bastard son who had come along to deliver the betrothal gifts. Pushed him in front of me. "He is the one." I took one look at this gentleman's face. "Very good. If the heir wants to break off the engagement, then just get someone else to be the heir." The 8th day of the first lunar month, very auspicious, the Marchioness of Wan brought the people from the Marquise's manor to the Prince of Pingyang's manor to deliver the betrothal gifts. The marriage between the heir and County Princess Anning had just been granted by the Emperor, and the gifts even included a Rui scepter bestowed by His Majesty. It was such a grand occasion that the gate was packed with commoners watching the excitement. I sat beside the Marchioness of Wan in my finest clothes, looking dignified and poised. The Marchioness held my hand and nodded in satisfaction. Mother looked at the heir, grinning from ear to ear. The marriage contract lay on the table. All that remained was for the heir and me to write our names on it, and it would be done. The maid ground the ink, and the heir and I walked to the table, lifting our brushes to put down our names. "My lord heir, it is bad. Please save our young mistress. Our young mistress has hanged herself in her room." A maidservant rushed into the prince's manor crying, her weeping shattering the joyous atmosphere. The ink from my brush fell onto the marriage contract with a splat, and I put down the brush. "Looks like this marriage contract won't be signed." Hearing the maids weeping, the heir's expression changed drastically. He put down his brush. "What is going on?" The maid cried pitifully. "Miss heard that the Marquis was sending betrothal gifts today and locked herself in her room. By the time we found her, Miss had already hanged herself from the beam." Upon hearing this, how could the heir hold back any longer? He turned around, looking at my father, prince and mother, his face full of distress. "I ask for the prince and princess consort's forgiveness. Something has happened at the Marquise's manor today. I am afraid this marriage contract cannot be signed. Perhaps we should reschedule." The Marchioness of Wuan chanted a prayer to Buddha and simply said, "My poor Chinger, why are you so foolish?" She turned to explain to my mother, "That is Anner's cousin, my younger sister's daughter. She has been living in the Marquise's manor." I didn't expect her to do such a foolish thing. I told her that everything could be discussed, and that County Princess Anning isn't someone who can't tolerate others. There was some hidden meaning in those words. Having seen plenty of such matters among women of the inner courtyard, my mother consort stood up and said softly, "Since she is a cousin and a relative, and such a thing happened on a day like this, we might as well go and take a look too, just to make sure nothing terrible happens." After saying this, allowing no room for the heir and the Marchioness to refuse, she immediately ordered the carriage to be prepared, and the group headed straight for the Marquise's manor. The heir was burning with anxiety. The moment he arrived at the Marquise's manor, he rushed straight to the front, heading towards a very exquisite courtyard. Just as he entered the courtyard gate, he heard a burst of crying, along with the voices of maids trying to console someone. Inside the room, a young lady wearing a wedding dress was half reclining. She was delicate as a willow, looking as if she would fall with a single gust of wind. Seeing the heir enter, tears fell like beads, and her voice was light and soft, full of deep affection. "Cousin." The heir hurriedly walked over and gathered her into his arms. "Ching Ching, how could you do such a foolish thing?" Ching Ching nestled in his arms, crying like a pear blossom bathed in rain. "Cousin, Ching Ching only wants to be with you. Couple for a lifetime. The wedding dress is already embroidered. Thinking about you marrying someone else, it would be cleaner for Ching Ching to just die. What a scene of love as deep as the sea. I, who am about to get engaged to the heir, have turned into the villain instead." The heir stroked her fine black hair and whispered, "I promised you a lifetime with just the two of us. I will not let you down. He turned to look at me and my mother consort standing at the door, and said loudly, "Please, Princess Consort, allow the county princess and me to cancel this engagement. My cousin and I are in love. Her parents are both dead, and she cannot live on without me. Surely the princess consort wouldn't just watch an innocent person die like this?" My mother consort gave a faint smile. This marriage was personally granted by the emperor. To cancel it, the emperor must agree. I wonder how the heir intends to explain to the emperor why the engagement is being cancelled. This is absolute nonsense. A stern voice came from outside. It was the Marquis of Wuan. The Marquis held his hands behind his back, staring at the heir, then turned to my mother consort. "Princess, please let us discuss this in the main hall. It is my failure to teach my son properly. I have made a fool of myself in front of you." In the main hall, the Marquis held his tea, looking at the heir apparent in silence. After a long while he asked, "Who saved Ching Ching?" "Father, it was your son who saved her." A man's voice rang out from behind, and a man in black robes slowly walked in. Even being dressed entirely in black couldn't hide his heroic spirit, and his sharp, deep gaze gave off a sense of oppression. Me gaze flickered. This person must be the Marquis Manor's eldest concubine-born son, Je, the 5th-rank general of agile cavalry. My royal father once praised him. Though born of a concubine, he is brave and skilled in battle, worthy of being called a young hero. The maid replied from behind. When the cry for help came, the eldest young master happened to be passing by. He cut the white silk with his sword and saved Miss Cousin. The Marquise nodded. "Well done." He then turned to stare at the heir, Linen, and what did you just say? You want to cancel your engagement to County Princess Anning. The heir knelt on the ground. "Father, Chinger and I truly love each other. Even if I marry County Princess Anning, I won't be happy. Wouldn't that be harming her? Please, father, give your consent." Just as they were speaking, Miss Ching Ching ran in wearing a bright red wedding dress and knelt down together before the Marquis. "Please, Lord Marquis, grant your blessing to me and my cousin." After she finished crying and begging the Marquis, she turned her head to look at me, shuffled on her knees to my front. "County Princess, you are a noble lady of the royal family. There are plenty of good men in the world for you to choose from. But I have nothing except cousin. I beg you not to fight with me for cousin, okay?" She cried like a pear blossom bathed in rain. The heir held her, only looking pleadingly at the Marquis. The Marquis said nothing, only looking at Linen. "Do you know the consequences of canceling the engagement?" Linen straightened his back. "As long as I can be with Ching Ching, your son is willing to bear any consequences." The Marquis looked at him with disappointment, putting down his teacup. "You cannot bear them." The Marquise of Wuan spoke up. "Can't we plead with the Emperor for leniency?" The Marquis? "The Emperor's words are gold. That is the sacred will, Anner. When I secured the title succession for you, I originally thought you would shoulder the burden of the Marquis Manor. It seems I was wrong. You have no sense of responsibility for your own selfish desires. You disregard your future and the lives of the whole manor. You are not worthy of the title of heir. I am very disappointed in you." After saying this, the Marquis stood up, walked in front of my mother consort, and bowed apologetically with cupped hands. This matter should have been discussed with the prince, but the princess consort is a heroine who rivals any man, and the county princess is not a coy person. So I will speak plainly. This marriage was personally bestowed by the emperor, except for the emperor. No one can cancel it. In the end, it is the Marquis Manor's fault. It is I who failed to teach my son properly. With conduct like his, he is no longer worthy of marrying the county princess. May I ask the county princess I have another son, Lin Jie, who is a 5th-rank general of agile cavalry under the prince's command. If the county princess is willing, this marriage contract can still be fulfilled. The Marquis Manor will also compensate the county princess. We certainly won't let the county princess suffer any grievance. The betrothal gifts we sent to the prince's manor today will be given to the county princess to add to her trousseau, and we will select a new date to send the betrothal gifts again. Linja, standing to the side, was dumbfounded. The Marquis, I wonder what the princess consort and the county princess think. Mother consort looked at Lin Jia, who had been standing in the hall without speaking. She had heard royal father mention him more than once. With a faint smile in her eyes, she turned to look at me. Let Yin'er decide this matter herself. I stood up. May I have a word with General Piaoqi? Lin Tuo, who had been silent by the side, froze for a moment and looked up at me. The two of us stood under the corridor. Everyone could see us, but they couldn't hear the sound of our conversation. Lin Jia, I know my status is humble, and I am not worthy of the county princess. This is the Lin family's fault. Rest assured, I will explain the reason to my father myself, so the county princess need not be troubled. I looked up at him. General Lin, are you willing to marry me? This direct question left Lin Jia somewhat flustered. I am a military man. I am afraid I can't play the zither or compose music to relieve the county princess's boredom like other noble young masters. I've heard Father King mention you, General. A young hero, unmatched in wisdom and courage. Someone Father praises surely can't be bad. But I have a terrible temper. I won't be like other ladies and allow you to hold a woman in each arm. He didn't expect that I'd really be willing to marry him, and his face turned bright red. He immediately bowed deeply. I am indebted to the county princess for not rejecting me. To have you as a wife is the greatest fortune of Jia's life. We looked at each other and smiled. An imperial marriage cannot be easily broken. This was already the best ending. A man like the heir is completely unreliable. Who cares if he is of legitimate or common birth? Once he becomes the son-in-law of my Prince Pingyang's manor, even a beggar could be raised to become a minister or a marquis. The marriage between the two families was put on the agenda once again. This time, the marquis personally oversaw the madam managing the arrangements. The betrothal gifts, marriage contracts, and horoscope cards were all in perfect order, causing mother consort to nod frequently in approval. Because the heir broke off the engagement, the marquis was especially eager to make it up to me, so he even added a few shops to my betrothal gifts. I heard that under the supervision of the Marchioness of Wuan, the marriage between the heir and Miss Qingqing has also been settled. But when Miss Qingqing saw the betrothal gifts the Marquise's household gave me, she caused a huge scene. In her eyes, she is the future mistress of the Marquise's household, and these belongings were supposed to be hers. She believed she was marrying the heir, so she made a scene insisting on getting married before us. The old Marquise gave the word, because the marriage between the Marquis Manor and the Prince Manor was personally bestowed by the Emperor. Their wedding couldn't be a grand affair, and it couldn't steal the thunder from mine. And Lin Jia's wedding. The heir had no choice but to hastily hold the ceremony and get married. This marriage was laughed at by the noble families of the capital for a full half-month. A high and mighty heir marrying his cousin. Yet the wedding was done so sloppily, they held the ceremony without even stepping out the main gate of the Marquis Manor. And when Lin Jia and I got married, with 10 miles of red dowry, the Empress personally bestowed a pair of jade rui as the first lift of the dowry. Everyone looked on in awe, remarking that the Prince of Pingyang's manor was at the height of imperial favor. After the wedding ceremony, dressed in a phoenix crown and robes, I was sent into the bridal chamber. When Lin Jia lifted the veil, I saw amazement in his eyes, dressed in red robes, with eyes like bright stars and slanted sword brows. He looked at me with a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. After we drank the nuptial wine, Lin Ji went to the front yard to toast the guests, and I sat in the bridal chamber waiting for him to come back. Even though I am a county princess, I still have to follow the customs on a day like this. Suddenly, a commotion broke out at the courtyard gate. I frowned. Who would dare to cause trouble on such a big day? All I heard was a man yelling, "County princess, it is me. Ah Yang. We promised we'd run away together. I am here to take you away. I won't let you marry another man. Don't stop me. The county princess and I are truly in love." A shout rang out in the courtyard. "Take him down immediately, gag him, and lock him in the woodshed." It was the dowry Momo my mother gave me. Someone who had followed my mother consort onto the battlefield. Her imposing aura was still there. I sat quietly, listening as the courtyard fell silent. Small tricks like this are not uncommon in the inner residence. They might not necessarily cause any real harm, but they are enough to ruin a young woman's reputation. On my first day entering the Marquise's manor, I was met with such a show of intimidation. When Linja returned to the bridal chamber after the toasts, he said apologetically, "Sorry to keep the county princess waiting. I reek of alcohol, so I'll go wash up first." After he finished bathing and returned to the bridal chamber, he took out a medium-sized box from a hidden cabinet for me. "This is what I have worked hard to earn over these years. It is all for the county princess." I took it with a blush and whispered, "Father and mother consort both call me Yinner. Since we are married, husband should call me Yinner too." His eyes lit up. "All right, Yinner." I opened the small box, my eyes widening. Inside were various land deeds and banknotes, plus jewelry. He said, "I am a concubine son of the Marquis Manor, so I won't be the heir, but I can't let my future wife and children suffer, so the rewards I got from fighting and the money I earned, Father let me keep for myself, to be managed by my wife when I marry. Now I am handing it all over to you. You are a county princess, marrying me is you settling for less. I can't let you suffer any grievances. Whatever you want to buy, you don't need to go through the household accounts and don't spend your own dowry. Use the money here for whatever you want to eat or use. My elder brothers are far away at the border. When I married, father and mother wished they could give me half the prince's manor as my dowry. So how could I be short of this bit of silver?" Warmth surged in my heart as I closed the box. "Thank you, husband. I will take good care of our little home and make sure we live a good life." I thought for a moment, "There is one more thing I want to tell you, husband." I told him about someone breaking into the courtyard tonight claiming to have an affair with me. He pondered for a moment and knew someone was up to no good. "Whoosh!" He stood up. "I am going to drag that bastard out and get to the bottom of this." I grabbed hold of him. "That person is being watched in the woodshed. Let's wait until tomorrow to see what happens and deal with it then. Tonight is our wedding night. If you go out to interrogate someone and word gets out." He sat down, his face flushed. "I am sorry. It was thoughtless of me. I only thought that since you married me, I couldn't let you suffer any grievances at home. Next time if anything happens, just tell me like you did today, and I will definitely get justice for you. Treating each other with mutual respect. If he treats me well, I'll naturally treat him even better. This is a wonderful start." The next day, Linja and I went to pay our respects and serve tea to the elders. We were walking in the back garden when we heard the sound of arguing. Listening closely, it turned out to be Liu Qingqing and Lin Anan. "Liu Qingqing, why should big brother, a concubine's son, have a wedding grander than yours? The heir? Why should I suffer this indignity? I am the heir's wife." Lin An, "What concubine's son? Father said not to mention this. Didn't I tell you? Eldest brother's marriage was granted by Imperial decree. We can't go ahead of them." Liu Qingqing, "Then why is their courtyard bigger than ours? You are the heir, yet you live in a courtyard smaller than theirs. Is that proper? I'd be too ashamed to show my face if word got out." You might be able to swallow this, but I certainly can't. The mama by mother-in-law's side appeared and gave a cough. "Eldest young master, county princess, the marquis and the madam are waiting." As soon as the voice came out, the quarreling sounds from the other end of the garden instantly ceased. Meeting in the main hall, Liu Qing was decked out in sparkling jewels, looking as if she wished she could cover her entire head with jewelry to show off her status. When it came time to exchange greetings with Liu Qingqing, she looked at me, covering her mouth as she laughed. "Did you sleep well, sister-in-law? I heard a man broke into your courtyard last night. They say he has a history with the county princess, but I don't believe it, so I ordered the servants not to gossip. You really shouldn't take it to heart, sister-in-law." Mother-in-law frowned. What barging into the courtyard? What old flame? Even the marquise looked at her with concern. Liu Qingqing went, "Oops," and covered her mouth. "Blame my big mouth. Mother. It is all small stuff. I've handled it all. Don't you worry." I smiled faintly and spoke up clearly. "Mother, it was just that last night in the bridal chamber, we heard a man rushing straight towards my husband's and my courtyard, saying I had feelings for him, and that he wanted to take me away to run off together." My mother-in-law looked at me. her face draining of color, and I smiled. That man has already been captured by my personal nanny. Rest assured, mother. My nanny is someone who went to the battlefield with my mother consort. Interrogating enemy forces is a walk in the park for her, let alone this measly lowlife. Once we've interrogated him and found out who wants to ruin my reputation, I'll explain everything to father and mother. Ruining my reputation is a small matter, but damaging the face of Prince Pingyang's manor and the Marquis of Wuan is severe. If this gets out, the consequences could be unpredictable, so I absolutely will not tolerate this. Whoever did this has truly damnable intentions. As I enunciated every word, I saw out of the corner of my eye that Liu Qingqing's face had turned pale. She stammered. Perhaps he mistook you for someone else? My husband sneered. He ran straight for the bridal chamber calling out for the county princess. And you think he was mistaken? I'll go interrogate him myself in a moment. Once I drag out the mastermind, I'll hack them to death with one swing. Liu Qingqing's legs went weak and she almost fell to the ground, clinging for dear life onto her maidservant. The heir's expression grew increasingly grim. With an expression like that on her face, there wasn't a soul in the hall who didn't figure out what was going on. My mother-in-law forced a smile. You've just gotten married. It is not auspicious to be talking about fighting and killing. We pretended not to see it and took our leave, while Liu Qing stayed behind. We hadn't walked far from the courtyard when we heard the sound of a teacup shattering. You idiot! Do you know what a monstrous disaster you've caused? If you ruin the county princess's reputation, you are ruining the reputation of our Marquis of Wuan's manor, and slapping the face of Prince Pingyang's manor. You have some nerve. Liu Qingqing, mother. I was wrong. I just wanted to take the county princess down a peg to stop her from being so smug. Why is her wedding grander than mine? I am the heir's wife. Why, mother-in-law? Because she let you have this marriage, because her marriage was bestowed by the emperor, and because as a county princess, her status is more noble than yours. The Marquis, you'd best behave yourself, and stop doing things that embarrass the Marquis manor. The heir? How could you do such a thing to the county princess? How did you become like this? Where did the sensible, polite, and considerate woman you used to be go? Since that day, Liu Qingqing behaved herself for quite some time. Liu Qingqing was the heir's wife. After marrying into the Marquis manor, she took charge of household affairs. Spring had arrived, and the various manors began holding spring banquets. The Marquis of Wuan's manor was no exception. On the day of the spring banquet, the madams who were on good terms with the Marquis manor brought their young ladies along. This kind of banquet was also a good opportunity for the major families to scout for potential marriage matches, so it was very lively. A young lady I knew well leaned in close to whisper, "That heir's wife isn't all that. How could the heir give you up and pick her? She looks like the scheming type. You'd better be careful." I gently pinched her cheek. I am married now. What nonsense are you talking? Maybe they share the same tastes, and he just likes that kind of little white flower, huh? As long as she doesn't provoke me, I won't bother her. The opera troupe on stage was singing lively tunes, and the guests were watching the play, drinking wine and admiring the flowers. It was truly delightful. Huar came to my side and whispered, "Miss, the general is a bit drunk. He is resting in the guest room at the water pavilion now and asked for you to send a bowl of sobering soup." I nodded, stood up, and went back to the courtyard to arrange it. Just as I reached the garden, I saw a woman wearing a salmon-pink dress. She looked unfamiliar and walked past hurriedly. I was puzzled. That woman looks unfamiliar. Who is she? Huar shook her head. I haven't seen her before. But miss, why does she look so familiar? A moment later, she suddenly realized. Ah, her brows and eyes are 30 or 40% similar to yours, miss. No wonder I said she looked familiar. I looked at the salmon-pink dress I was wearing today, and a thought struck me. I hurriedly called the Momo behind me and whispered a few instructions. She immediately rushed over. The banquet was halfway through when a scream was heard from the water pavilion. I put down my teacup and asked the servants, "What happened?" A maid ran over to whisper something in Liu Qingqing's ear. She said loudly, "What? Over at the water pavilion." She hurriedly covered her mouth, looked at me, and said, "Nothing. I'll go take a look. She looked at me again. County princess, please accompany me. I am afraid I won't handle it well. I stood up. All right. Some female guests I knew well followed me to the water pavilion saying, don't rush, with this kind of banquet. The worst thing is for something to go wrong. At the entrance of the water pavilion, Liu Qingqing's maid was pacing around anxiously. She was about to speak when she saw Liu Qing, but seeing the flock of female guests behind her, she panicked even more. Madam Heir, why are there so many people? Liu Qingqing, what happened? The maid stammered. Just now when I was delivering hot tea to the water pavilion, I found there was a woman's voice inside, and the general's cloak was lying outside the corridor. I shouted angrily. Nonsense! Liu Qingqing hurriedly advised. Maybe the general is drunk. Let's ask what is going on first. Saying that, she took the lead and pushed the door of the water pavilion right open. Clothes were scattered all over the floor, and a woman's delicate voice came from inside. Lord Heir, I am yours from now on. On the bed in the water pavilion, the ones entangled together weren't the general, but Liu Qing's good cousin, the heir of Marquis Wuan. Liu Qingqing let out a scream. My lord, how could it be you? What are you doing? She rushed over and yanked that woman down. You vixen, did I buy you into the manor to let you seduce the Lord Heir? Keep dreaming. I'll beat you to death. The heir was still naked. He grabbed his outer robe and put it on, shouting angrily. What are you doing? Isn't this shameful enough already? Liu Qingqing cried heartbrokenly. You said you only loved me, but now you are rolling around with another vixen. How could you do this to me? The old servant hurriedly led all the female guests away, and I persuaded Liu Qingqing. Sister-in-law, forget it. It is not suitable to make a big fuss about this today. The heir was just drunk. Forget it. She flung my hand away. County princess really has good schemes. Wasn't it the general who was in the water pavilion? I stared at her unblinkingly. How did you know my husband was in the water pavilion? Liu Qingqing averted her eyes. I heard the maid say so. Linji came in from outside. Sister-in-law certainly knows my whereabouts clearly. However, just after I entered the water pavilion, I felt thirsty and went out to find water. Just then, second brother was drunk, and the maids helped him in to rest. Liu Qingqing, but the outer robe outside clearly belonged to eldest brother. The heir. I took a fall and my outer robe got dirty. Big brother took off his cloak and gave it to me to wear. Liu Qingqing's body went limp, and she slumped to the ground. I looked at the woman beside us whose face had been beaten until swollen, and helped her up. This sister looks very familiar. So beautiful. She ought to enter the Marquise's manor to enjoy a good life. Linen was angry at Liu Qingqing, and said, from now on, just call her Concubine Xiao. Concubine Xiao looked at the heir pitifully. Yes, master. I helped her up and said with a smile, this sister looks very kind-hearted and is beautiful too. In the future, within the manor, you will be just like a sister to us. After saying that, I pulled a hairpin from my head. This is a meeting gift for sister. Please don't despise it. It is to soothe sister's nerves. Ignoring Liu Qingqing, whose face was twisted with anger, she turned, took her husband's hand, and left the water pavilion. The noisy sounds of a scuffle came from the water pavilion. I bought you in to be a maid, not to climb into the heir's bed, you vixen. Then came the concubine's weeping, delicate and frail, making one feel pity. She bought a maid who looks a bit like me into the manor. I could see right through her scheme at a glance. Liu Qingqing really shot herself in the foot this time. That night, there was crying and fussing all night long in the heir's courtyard. But the next day, the heir still took Liu Qing and concubine Xiao to my mother-in-law's courtyard. The mother-in-law naturally knew about the incident at the water pavilion yesterday. She glared at Liu Qingqing with exasperation and said flatly, since you've become a concubine, serve the heir with all your heart. Spreading the family line as soon as possible is what matters. Concubine Xiao said gently, yes, old madam. I smiled and chimed in from the side. Concubine Xiao looks so gentle and pretty. Sister-in-law, you really are lucky. You should be happy to have another sister to keep you company. My mother-in-law looked at her, then at me, and suddenly said, At a sudden glance, you two actually look about 30% alike. Your features aren't similar, but your expressions are somewhat alike. No wonder you hit it off. The household will be even more harmonious from now on. Although Concubine Xiao is gentle and lovely in front of the heir, she is extremely formidable when dealing with Liu Qing that day. I was cooling off in the pavilion on the rockery in the back garden when I heard someone arguing by the lake below. Liu Qing, I told you to seduce the general, yet you actually set your sights on the heir. Concubine Xiao, Madam, you said yourself that seeing a man wearing a blue cloak was enough. That day, the heir arrived at the water pavilion wearing a blue cloak. You didn't make yourself clear, so how can you blame me? Liu Qing, I don't care, find a way to seduce Big Brother. Anyway, you can't stay by the heir's side. Concubine Xiao covered her mouth and chuckled. Madam, the general's wife is a county princess. Are you trying to get me killed? I am the heir's concubine now. So naturally, I must know my place. I will be wholeheartedly devoted to the heir. Madam, you really shouldn't let outsiders here talk about seduction or whatnot. So that is how it is. Liu Qing gritted her teeth. The trouble she invited had stuck to her. Every day she thought about using her status as the mistress to bully Concubine Xiao. But who knew she'd turn around and cry to the heir? She was extremely beautiful, weeping like a pear blossom bathed in rain, crying until Linen's heart went soft. My lord, the madam calls me a vixen every day. But you know, I didn't mean to seduce you, my lord. I beg you, my lord, please stand up for me. Liu Qing suffered a crushing defeat, and during the argument she even said, Do you still have lingering feelings for the county princess? Seeing that this vixen looks like her, you must just love it to death in your heart, right? The heir was furious when he heard this, and with a pah, he slapped her. Do you realize what you are saying? The county princess is your elder sister-in-law. If you show her any disrespect and word gets out, the Prince of Pingyang will tear you apart alive. If you have a death wish, don't drag the Marquis Manor down with you. After saying that, he went straight to the concubine's courtyard and didn't return to the main courtyard for half a month, nearly angering Liu Qing to death. It wasn't until the mid-autumn chrysanthemum viewing banquet, early in the morning, that Concubine Xiao's little maid happily reported to the old madam, Old Madam, heir, the concubine is expecting. The heir was stunned. What did you say? The little maid said, Last night the concubine had a stomachache, but she wouldn't let us disturb the heir. She only had us call the manor's doctor, who examined her and said she is 1 month pregnant. The heir was overjoyed, but Liu Qing remarked coldly, She is just a concubine. What she births is nothing but a base-born son. What is there to get excited about? The heir's face darkened. No matter what, that is my child. As the mistress of the house, you should take good care of her too. There are many people at the banquet today. Don't let her get tired. After saying this, he hurriedly rushed to the concubine's courtyard to see her. I looked at Liu Qing's face, distorted with anger, and said happily, I actually get along quite well with Concubine Xiao. Huar, get a few tales of bird's nest. Let's go visit Sister Xiao. The Wuan Marquis Manor's mid-autumn chrysanthemum viewing banquet has always been famous, because the manor has a gardener who grows very rare varieties of chrysanthemums, some of which cannot be found anywhere else. Liu Qing went to great lengths to organize this chrysanthemum viewing banquet, and invited many high-ranking officials and nobles. I wasn't in charge of household management, only responsible for entertaining familiar female guests in the back garden to view the flowers. During the banquet, someone heard that the heir's concubine was pregnant, so they used the alcohol as an excuse to toast him a few more cups, getting the heir so drunk his head was spinning, and he went to the back to change clothes. Just as he walked to the lakeside with the page boy, he heard a splash, and then came Concubine Xiao's cry for help. The heir rushed over immediately and saw Liu Qing standing by the lake while the concubine was in the water. My lord, save me. The heir jumped down himself and saved her. He ordered the page boy to take the cloak in his hand and wrap her up. The concubine cried as she clutched the heir. My lord, you must seek justice for me. The madam was jealous of my pregnancy and pushed me into the lake. The heir stood up with a whoosh, gripping Liu Qingqing's shoulders tightly and hissed, "Are you crazy? What do you think you are doing?" Liu Qingqing broke free from him. "What do I want to do? When you married me, you promised me that you wouldn't have a son born out of wedlock before the birth of your legitimate son. Now, this slut is pregnant. Since you can't do it, let me help you get rid of this scourge. Then nothing will happen. You promised me you'd love only me for a lifetime and wouldn't take a concubine. But you did. You said you wouldn't have a son by a concubine first, but you are letting her give birth. You can't keep your word, so I'll do it. The heir, that is my flesh and blood. You are crazy. This is murder." Liu Qingqing laughed loudly. "Killing someone? Are you scared? It is not like you haven't killed before. Back then at the Zhao Manor in Luokeng, if it weren't for you, how would the whole manor have?" The heir grabbed her by the neck. "Shut up! Are you crazy? Do you want to get me killed?" Suddenly, another person's voice cut in. "Back then at the Zhao Manor in Luocheng, if it weren't for you, how could the whole manor have been burned to ashes by a fire, with no one escaping, the entire family wiped out in a single night?" Concubine Xiao stood to the side and said with a face full of sorrow. The heir and Liu Qingqing looked at her in terror. Aunt Zhao was already in tears. "How would I know? Back then, the young master thought he could get away with it without anyone noticing. In order to steal another man's wife, he killed young Master Zhao, and in order to eliminate any future troubles, he didn't hesitate to drug everyone in the Zhao family with sleeping potion and set the whole mansion on fire. It was all because young Master Zhao was engaged to your cousin. Only after he died could you bring your cousin into the mansion and marry her." The heir and Liu Qingqing stepped back. "Who are you? What nonsense are you spouting?" "Concubine Xiao." The heir was having an affair with his cousin, but unexpectedly ran into the cousin's fiancé. When killing him to silence him, a jade pendant fell off. This jade pendant is exactly the same as the one on the madam. She spread open her palm. Inside was a scorched jade pendant, and it was indeed a pair with the jade pendant at Liu Qingqing's waist. Their expressions changed drastically, and they tried to reach out to snatch it, but she dodged. "Concubine Xiao. Before I sold myself as a maid, my maiden name was Zhao Yin'er. I am Zhao Yongning's younger half-sister, the only survivor of the Zhao Manor. This jade pendant was clutched tight in my brother's hand when he died. I waited for so long, waited until Liu Qingqing wanted to buy people into the manor. I managed to get in as a maid with great difficulty. She told me to seduce the general, but I seized the opportunity to seduce the heir and became a concubine instead. I waited so long, finally waiting for today, where you exposed yourselves. I want to seek justice for the entire Zhao family." Concubine Zhao's face was pale from the cold. As she spoke the harshest words, her eyes carried fire, just like the great fire that burned all night back then. Liu Qingqing and the heir slumped to the ground. She tried to bluff, saying, "What are you saying? We don't know. Besides, so, what if you know? Who would believe the words of a lowly maid? We believe her." An official from the Court of Judicial Review, the Imperial censor, the lords from the Ministry of Justice, and several other high-ranking figures walked down from the rockery pavilion. They had heard everything clearly inside the pavilion. The heir could barely stand anymore. Liu Qingqing cried and knelt before the lords. "My lords, please see clearly. These things were all done by the heir. They have nothing to do with me." The heir grabbed her by the neck. "What did you say? It was all your idea, and now you want to push the blame. No way." The heir and Liu Qingqing were taken away from the chrysanthemum banquet by the Ministry of Justice officials because of the Zhao family massacre in Luocheng. The news instantly exploded across the capital, with witnesses, material evidence, and the victim all present. The case was tried very quickly. The Marquis of Wuan suddenly aged a great deal. He knelt before the emperor's study to plead for punishment, because his failure to teach his son properly caused him to commit a grave error. He requested to be stripped of the title of Marquis of Wuan and demoted to a commoner. The emperor, taking pity on his illustrious military achievements, did not strip him of his title. He ordered the heir Linan and his wife Liu Qing to be exiled 3,000 li, never to return to the capital for the rest of their lives. Linjia became the new heir of the Marquis of Wuan. Concubine Xiao's child was gone. I gave her the indenture and the divorce letter the heir wrote before he left. She said she wanted to go back to Luo City, so I took a banknote for 1,000 taels and gave it to her. Live well from now on. Concubine Xiao curtsied. Xiao Yin'er thanks the county princess. I watched her retreating figure, then turned to look at my husband. He said, "Let me take you horseback riding. The flowers in the outskirts are blooming quite well." I smiled. "I am afraid not, husband. I am pregnant. You are going to be a father. Our life together has just begun."